I just thank you for joining Crouch's Crypto Corner. This is the longest running crypto call in the Carolinas. Each week we meet to bring together crypto-centric builders, policymakers, and curious minds to talk about blockchain, the market, policy, and the future of crypto in finances. So here for we get updates each week with Patty and Aaron. And so we'll start off with Patty, give us a market report, and then Aaron will follow with a crypto report. So thank you both, and we'll turn it over to Patty. Thank you, Patty.
Yes. Well, I would call the market now that term irrational exuberance. It's like gotten ahead of itself, in my opinion, but everything is up. So the Dow is up in the past 5 days, 2.5%. It's above 49,000 again. Remember, its high was 50, but still. S&P is up 4.31%. It is holding steady above 7,000. This morning, the last I looked was 7,101. NASDAQ is up 5.92%, almost 1,500 points in 5 days. I was looking at the NASDAQ 100 futures, and the Russell is up 2.98%. It's holding steady around 2,700, 2,720. Gold has been kind of flat, but it is up 2.92%, and it's at 48.78, or last I looked. Silver is up 10.34%. So it's gotten back above $80 again, 82.18. That's almost $8 in a week. The dollar, thankfully, is down. It's 97.88, or at least about an hour ago when I looked. So that's just slightly down from last week. But the weakness in the dollar helps equities. The 10-year, unfortunately, is going up. I can't explain why, but it had jumped above 4.3 yesterday, but this morning it's 4.299. And WTI crude, which has been the best for equities, is down to $90.71. And I did, just out of curiosity, look. The last 3 months, it's up 58.63%, and 6 months, 64%. So hopefully it will continue to go down. That's all I got. You still there, George?
Do you think that there's any realization or thinking on the market that there's going to bring some conclusion to this war in Iran? Do you think that's what maybe is
I
driving some of this?
I think so. That happened about 3 or 4 days ago. I forget what the tweet was, or the comment that Trump made, that we're
Mhm.
nearing the end. And then perhaps the ceasefire yesterday between Israel and Lebanon might have been an extra boost. But yeah, everything has shot up. I could have given you tons of examples. Like SanDisk, it was above $900 yesterday. Micron, regained everything that it had lost. It was like 460.
Your
So
strategy's on the
Well,
move.
thank God. Yeah.
so let me
Um,
just mention,
yeah.
let me divert back to the comment about Israel and Lebanon. I think if you watch that, I think that is key to this whole thing going on in the Middle East. And is if they can agree to that, Israel and Lebanon, then there's an effort there to get all states except Iran to recognize Israel as a sovereign nation. And I got a cough, so sorry.
It isn't now.
Yeah, and no. And so if they
Mhm.
do that, then that basically isolates Iran out of the picture. And I'm not that versed in world affairs, but I'm just saying, watch what happens with Israel and Lebanon. I think it's critical to what's going to happen in Iran. So that's just my take. And watch what
Mhm.
China does too. So anyway,
Well, yeah, I
Thanks,
guess we could
George.
talk about that, but I was surprised China Yeah.
I think you've also got to look at a lot of other things too. I mean, this war is not over. This is sort of a pause, and it may have a certain amount of stability, but this region is going to be having a lot of trouble for a very long time. But you don't get all upset if we have another, some other engagement. It's not the world falling apart. It's just part of the struggles that are going to go on in this region. At least that's what I believe. I don't think there's going to be peace per se.
Okay. Well, that's from Jim. All right. Anybody else? Because we're going to move on to Aaron. I guess Aaron's on the call, isn't he?
We could talk about that for an
He's
hour.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hey, good morning, George.
Good morning.
Good news, please, Aaron.
I think he's got some. Come on, Aaron.
Good.
All right, yeah, I guess I'm not completely pessimistic. Not too optimistic though. So, but the recent, I guess we'll start with kind of the macro Bitcoin movements. We did kind of break out of a range I was watching. Still not completely excited. I don't think like you're going to get those crazy, Bitcoin candles that we're used to just in the scope of everything. But I'm looking for like a chop up to 80, 82, somewhere in that range, and then a pullback. But watching weekly close, some of those bigger time frames, keeping an eye on that. But if we do pull back, maybe like the high 60s. Again, sound like a forecaster no, weather forecaster. But yeah, it's kind of what I'm watching. Little push up to 80, and then who knows at the end of the day. But it is positive all in all, which is bringing a lot of the alts to life as well. So you get that Bitcoin dominance, which kind of filters out to some of the bigger runners, like Solana's doing really well, and a few of the others. So it is kind of a breath of fresh air. And then as far as kind of, I saw this too. I think it was Jordan that posted about it, but a good friend of mine, G Love, which he's a musician, but he's also Garrett Dutton. He made the news because I was talking to him. He downloaded a Ledger app from the Apple Store that was actually,
Oh, yeah.
it
Full of
was
Bitcoin.
approved, and he typed in his 25 or typed in his private key, and then poof, I think it was a total like $400,000 to $500,000 worth of Bitcoin just gone in a second. So another, I think, I don't know if they're putting together like a class action suit or anything, but just that's one of those things. He's been in crypto for a while, since I can remember, at least 6 or 7 years, and everything seemed legit, and got him and got a bunch of different people so far. So I would just say be careful with that and avoid. I don't even know how to really just double, triple check applications, or if you're ever typing in that private key, just be 1,000% sure. I always get nervous if I have to bring out like the private key or anything.
Yeah.
And then
Aaron, excuse me. What
Yeah.
was the name of this person? What is the name of this person?
Garrett Dutton. He's a musician, G Love and the Special Sauce from like the night. He's still touring, but
Okay.
But yeah, it's in the news. If you look up, like, just search Garrett Dutton, like it hit like all like the crypto Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
And you're saying he bought an Apple product?
no, so he had Bitcoin stored on a ledger, like safe, like private, cold wallet, and he got an update or a message, and it was in the official like Apple store that the Ledger app was upgrading and updating their application. So he's like, all right, I'll update. Here's the new app. Let me put in my information that I've stored all this Bitcoin for 6, 7 years, and then he types it in, and then it's gone.
Yeah,
that's sickening.
it is.
Well,
But
I have been fished or whatever through a text that's saying your code for withdrawing your funds from Robinhood is this number, and encouraging me to type it in. And so I'm sending those. I contacted Robinhood, and it said, send us a screenshot. So I've had to do that 3 times in the last 4 weeks.
Wow.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. Everybody knows
There-
what everybody's
Phishing.
doing.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely biometric. Like if you can attach that two-factor authentication and all the three-factor authentication, if you can, on anything that's valuable.
Mm.
But yeah, I guess the only other thing I know, World Liberty Financial, we've talked about that. They were in the news, kind
Yeah,
of ongoing.
you're welcome to go
Um,
into that a little bit if you want to. Yeah. Because I
yeah,
was going to bring
so
it up.
it's my understanding. It started with the Justin Sun, which is a TRON founder that kind of tried to weasel his way, I think, into like the Trump family, but now they are on the outs, and he's got some, claims against the contract for that WLFI actual token, and some of the backing. I don't know. I've been on the fence on it kind of since its inception, but a lot of that's coming out to where potentially. I wouldn't say locked funds, but just some weird stuff with how they're handling their liquidity. Just a lot of questions all in all. So it's interesting to see. Who knows what's actually true or not, but the blockchain doesn't lie, so you can always go back to the how they're moving stuff around, what they're doing, or the actual smart contract itself. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of interesting. It took a big hit.
Yeah. It killed
So
World Liberty down to 8 cents, I think.
yep. Yeah,
Didn't
there's a
wasn't
lot of
positive.
people that buying the dip. We'll see if it pays off. I do think even if it is, if there's criminals involved, they'll at least do an exit liquidity spike before they leave. So it's
Yeah.
always, they'll want money on their way out, but who knows? But
So
that's all I really got for today.
my understanding is that uh, that Justin Sun put in $30 million or purchased $30 million worth of the World Liberty Finance token, uh, which is the
30
Trump
million.
family crypto platform, and that he then came on board as an advisor. So he got kind of tight with him, and then he made a move that basically set off a blacklist and it froze his wallet, and so he could not access the funds, and that's been going on since 2025. So he's brought it out publicly, and they're both going to try and sue each other because the son feels that this was a backdoor thing done after he had made the deposit, and he wanted to make a transaction, and the algorithm or the platform froze his assets, which are a total of on all the platforms $107 million. And anyway, I just
Wow.
and he's going to sue the Trump, or he's going to sue World Liberty, and then World Liberty is going to come back and sue them. And let me see if I can pull up what they spoke to each other. Um, so Sun alleges that the protocol included a blacklist function giving insiders in the platform, the WLFI platform, unlimited power to freeze without notice. And so he wants to sue on that note. And World Liberty Finance comes back and says, Justin's just playing the victim. See you in court, pal.
Oh my goodness.
That's it. All right. That's all I got on that exciting note.
Mm.
So we got two other topics left, and we got a few minutes left.
Well, I
Um,
just had, if you recall, when they did that initial launch, you know, we had a discussion with Brandy about that, and they red flagged his account because he wasn't fully compliant. I mean, we've known about that since day one.
yeah, this goes back actually to 2024 when he first made that transaction. I wasn't in on that call. And Dennis, do you want to tell us who Brandy is?
Oh yeah, so Brandy Reynolds was our board member, Skeeta's board member. She's also the chief compliance officer for World Liberty Finance.
So she
Well, I
kind of
mean, you
knows
may
what's
not
going on.
comment on it because it's a lawsuit at this point, uh, but I'm trying to remember what call that was on. It might have been on
It was
Was
the
it
one I
on
missed.
a board call, or it wasn't your call? It must
No,
have been a
It was
board
on a
call.
board call on Monday or
Was a
on
board
Yeah,
call.
Monday.
yeah. What yeah, if we could narrow that down. We got all those. We should have all that historical data, and I'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody could narrow a date down, I could zero into it.
All
When
right.
you invest sums like $30 million, are you not signing agreements of what you can and can't do? Like I'm sure that
Well,
Trump's,
absolutely.
World Liberty has positioned themselves.
And that's
And
what World Liberty says. We have the contracts, we have the documents, we have the papers. I'll see you in court, pal.
Yeah, his whole claim is he didn't know, and their claim is yes, you signed the documents. That's
Yeah,
it. This isn't hard, right? It'll drag on for 5 years in court at least, guaranteed, because the courts can't deal with signed documents and what
this is
they
not.
need.
Yeah, this is not a new issue. I think it had to do all do with compliance from that standpoint.
Well, we got lawyers involved, and you know what that means. Whoops. Sorry, Reba. Okay.
You're forgiven.
Thank you. All right. So I'm prefacing, we got two more subjects. The first one is Clarity Act. And the second one is going to be Les is going to. We've been talking about quantum computing and its ability to crack the blockchain of Bitcoin, and we did that a couple of weeks ago. And Les is going to do a little follow up on that, and it has to do with Jensun Sun. So anyway, we want to say that for a second because what we want to do is I want to just lay the platform out for what the Clarity Act and why it's important and just go through that. And anybody's got any questions? If not, we'll pivot over to Les. But coming on next week is going to be J.R. Schroeder from Representative Timmons' office in upstate. And he's going to help update us with what's going on in the Senate with the Clarity Act. And then we've got Kyle Clark coming with Anchorage Digital Bank, who's going to be also on the call next week. And so we're gonna sort of try and talk and see what it looks like from Anchorage's perspective and what it looks like from the Senate floor from two different entities or two different guys. And I think it'll bring it interesting, but I want to just sort of clarify or lay out what the Clarity Act is all about and why it's important. And we know, just to go back a little bit, the Genius Act was passed out of Congress and put on the president's desk to sign, and it became law earlier this year. Then the Genius Act basically, in a nutshell, created some guardrails on stable coins, and it also put in that stable coins were going to be backed 1-to-1 with treasuries. And a lot of us think on this call that that's one of the reasons why they did it, because nobody else is buying treasuries. The Chinese, I think, have given up, and a lot of Japan, I don't know. But anyway, just
Well, because we
there's a
take their
reason for
money.
all that. Yeah,
Russia's not buying any. We
yeah,
take their money. That's why. They buy them, and then
yeah.
we're like, oh, we're going to take it. Sorry, we're not going to ever pay
Keep it.
you for this. So we steal it from them. We're thieves.
Okay. So,
Sorry, I had to chime in.
well, all right, put your mute button on.
Mhm.
Anyway, all right. So what is the Clarity Act? Okay, so it's basically designed to integrate digital assets and decentralized services into the core of the financial system. So it's like, the Hatfields and the McCoys trying to get married. So there you go. But what they wanted to do was classify tokens. That's one of the first things. What is a token? Is it a security? Then it goes under the guidance and the purview of the SEC. Or is it a commodity? If it is, then it goes under the purview of the CFTC, Commodities Trade, anyway,
Commission.
CFTC, yeah, Commission. Thank you. And then, so that's one thing. The second thing is it creates standards for exchanges, custodians, and broker dealers. And I think that all revolves around anti-money laundering guardrails that some of the people in Congress, mainly Elizabeth Warren and her crowd, would like to have stricter regulatory frameworks around anti-money laundering in the crypto world. But as we've already found out that you can, and it's already been said on this call, you can trace every transaction. There are hoops that allow you to sort of mix and mingle. But anyway, the point being is that there are ways for trades to be tracked in the blockchain. So, third thing was the stablecoin utility. So they want oversight in commerce and retail payments. And this is the big sticking point that's got this whole Clarity Act bogged down in Congress. But the last thing is they want DeFi and tokenization. They want regulatory boundaries around real world assets and DeFi. And as we understand, or as we watch what happens in this crypto world, we're seeing that real world assets and tokenization is the future of finance in this country and probably in the world. And so that's just my take. You can opine in if you want to, but I think tokenization of everything is, which is what Larry Fink from BlackRock said he wanted to see happen because he's got lots of assets and he can tokenize the heck out of those. Going back though to the stablecoin utility, the yield debate is what's the issue there. Um, and so banks oppose it because they think that it'll be deposit flight when they allow stablecoins in a third party platform to be staked and um, have a yield. They think that people will start pulling their money out of traditional FI and put it into a stablecoin on an exchange. So
Mhm.
anyway, the Genius Act has said that issuers of stable coins cannot offer a yield, which separates that from moving a stable coin into an exchange where the exchange can, I believe this is what's going on. And JR can help clear it up next week, but exchanges could offer those stable coins a return on the investment. So, and I think the log jam has sort of started to come undone. And I think we're going to get some traction on this bill. And I probably am about at the end of my sentences because my throat is starting to kill me. But anyway,
Mm.
but there was a leaked report from the White House that said that the deposit flight argument by the banks was overstated, or as I like to say, it's been trumped up. But anyway,
Cute.
excuse me. So there's Allsbrook and what's the guy from Tennessee? Senator from Tennessee. He's a Republican. Trip. Anyway, they have agreed that I think the idea is that if the stable coins are an active trade, then you can collect a yield on it. If they're just sitting dormant in an exchange and not being utilized, then the exchange cannot give a yield to just dormant stable coins. I think that's probably what the compromise or something like it's going to be. So the other things that they're worried about is third party. Let's see, I've already said that. The other one is ethics, and basically targeted at the president and his family in terms of trading in the crypto world with a sitting president. And so they got to clarify that. And then there's the software debate, that software wording. And I think this is important, but the software wording could impede law enforcement, could put hurdles to law enforcement. The law as written, the law as written protects software writers and hold them harmless from illicit activities by bad guys based upon what they do with the software. So the software is written for good, but somebody finds a way to use it in a nefarious way, and then the developer of the software is held liable. And I think that's what they want to try to do is hold harmless. And that debate's been going on for a while as well. So anyway, that's uh that's pretty much what I've got on the Clarity Act. Does anybody want to help me out here and sort of chime in? And
When's
That
it
was
going to pass?
excellent, George. It was really a
Yeah.
great overview.
oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, I struggled. And I want to thank Christopher joining us, but she's gone. So um,
Oh,
anyway, that's all I got on that. And it's like what is it? It's about 2 after the hour. So and we can
That,
take
that
two.
that was everything about the Clarity Act in general. You just went over all of it.
All right. So we got a clear, or maybe we have a something of an understanding. All right. With that done, then let's switch over to Les, who's going to help us talk a little bit about quantum. Um, quantum computing, blockchain, and how uh, the initiatives are being taken to protect the blockchain and protect digital assets from nefarious actors with quantum computers. And we've talked about this a little bit less. If you want to just recap a little bit,
Okay.
and I'm going to back out on this and go get some more lozenges.
Okay. So George sent me an article and it had uh, Jensun Sun and another guy whose nickname is CJ. I can't remember his affiliation. And they were talking about how they're going into this big effort to try to develop new techniques that would be post-quantum resistant and things, which I kind of got a chuckle out of because we as crypto researchers are always on this game and we have been forever. So they're hyping it a lot, but it really comes down to if you'll jump on the Wayback Machine with me, go all the way back to the early 1980s when I got into this game professionally. It's back when I first ran into Floyd. And, we at the time were just integrating cryptography into how computers were used. And I'll just say roughly that when we were doing classified work, that if we came up with an algorithm, we had to be able to show mathematically that you couldn't break it in less than 50 years. The number was bigger than that, but let's just say 50 years. And we have had to improve since then all the time. So back then we had many computers, we had mainframe computers, so we had to do a lot of testing. And if you, even in all of our lifetimes, if you look at it, you know what WEP is as a Wi-Fi protocol. We don't use it anymore because that cryptography is not strong anymore. We don't use MD5. It's an algorithm that we used in the 80s that we discarded because we found ways to break it. So we are always looking for ways to jump ahead. And every time that we've had an advancement in something, like Cray came out with computers that don't do divisions, so they're really fast. We had to go back, look at all of our algorithms, look at all of our hashing, and say, what are we going to do to defend against this? And we came up with new algorithms, new hashing families, new mathematics that we could apply. And we've known about quantum for a long time. So the whole crypto research community has been out there looking for things that quantum can't easily defeat. So it's nice to see that people who have their name in the news can hype some of this sometimes. But in the long run, we're constantly working on the problem. That's why SHA-3 is better than SHA-2, which SHA-256 is used in Bitcoin right now. And all of our products eventually need an upgrade path. And we've done that going from RSA to Diffie-Hellman to other forms of public keys. That's why we had the DES, and we went to DES3 and then to AES as symmetric algorithms, because we realized that the permutations and substitutions in the data encryption standard, DES, could be overcome by some more modern computers. So we went to DES3, we went to AES, And we will continue to release new products into the market that can be integrated and upgraded into everything, which could include Bitcoin having to upgrade from SHA-256 to SHA-3 or something beyond that. Yes, we are working on 4, 5, 6, and 7. And as they come out, they'll enter the market, and we will continue to follow this same track. It's an offense defense game all the time. So, your tank, your armor, and your gun. And which ones are you going to upgrade and try to defeat whatever the last attack was? So nothing new. Like to see the hype, but at the end of the road, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the blockchains have to be looking at what is their governance plan, what is their upgrade policy, how do they implement an upgrade without a fork? How do you go through that process where you know that what you've added, unlike the new app in the App Store for Apple, is really a good thing to do and that it needs to be upgraded properly and that it's been upgraded properly because computer math and real math are not the same thing. And we frequently take a very good cryptographic algorithm that you can write on a board and we try to implement it on a computer. And it's difficult because the computer estimates real numbers. You have to go through and decide what's really a prime number. There's lots of mechanics that go into that. So you always want to use a library that's been tested and certified that comes out rather than trying to write your own. And that's where we started from the Wayback Machine. And it's been a constant battle since we decided. I mean, when I started, NSA had decreed that encryption would never be done in software, that we would always do it in EEPROMs and some other electrical engineering devices, but we would never use C code or Fortran code or PL1 or Pascal or anything like that to write encryption software. They would never accept it. And one of my very first tasks when I went into this professionally was a project called the Naval Key Distribution System, which proved them wrong. We came up with a design that they accepted, and it became their key management infrastructure for how that process could work. And if I told you that 35 years ago, some people would have run in here and shot us because it was really a secret. And now there's a Wikipedia page about it. So if you want to go out and search for the Electronic Key Management System, EKMS, you'll find a whole page about it that doesn't have my name on it or Dave's name on it. And because NSA swept in and took up our cute little device and turned it into their electronic key management system that they used for 30 years. Unfortunately, they just didn't decide to pay me a penny a key for every key they generated since then.
Oh no.
Dang, you wouldn't be talking with us.
It sounds like you
No.
need a lawyer. Reba, step in.
Well, I was a government employee at the time, so they had me over a barrel.
So,
And but that's how the key switchover happened in the early 1980s.
wow. And so are you telling me that in computer world, 2 plus 1 is not 3?
Well, in the computer math, x can equal x plus 1, and in real math, that can't happen. And if you
Sure
say
can.
my number is 0.1, and you put that into a real register in a computer, it estimates it as 0.099999998. So if you add up 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, you get 0.3 on the board. And if the computer does it, it gets a number that's slightly less than 0.3 because it's estimating it in binary.
Well,
And if you do that enough times, your precision is way off. You diverge from the
crazy.
real number. So there's a lot of things that we do in computer science to make corrections for that kind of thing and to come with the right answer. And that really hits you in cryptography because we're using hellaciously large numbers
Yes.
to the order of 2 to the 251st power to find a prime number.
Oh, God. Okay. So you're telling me that shooting to the moon is an effort that is almost minusculely easy to miss. I mean, it's hard as hell to get there, and every little movement they make is an adjustment of a
That's
small,
right.
small fraction of direction, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah,
Is that especially when you're calculating it with a computer.
got it. Well, I ain't doing it with my slide rule.
Well, I just want to add to Les's excellent, possibly perfect description. I mean, I think the core problem is what you have is a bunch of people who got into computing and computers and made a bunch of assumptions about how things work, not realizing the whole time everything they were using was changing underneath them because they didn't run the core infrastructure. And so nobody knows, except people like Les and I and Floyd, of course, how many changes have gone on to, say, the web infrastructure, right? The TLS algorithm and things like that, and how deep those changes are, because the version numbers don't even tell the whole story because people made tweaks and changes. And look at all the Wi-Fi protocols. They're not all cryptographic, but almost all of them include a cryptographic upgrade. So WEP and WPA and it's on and on and on. So when you realize that the people who did the cryptocurrency were not necessarily good technologists, they might have had a deep knowledge of one or two pieces of math, but they didn't really understand the underlying infrastructure. And don't get me started on how computers actually account for the cosmic rays that cause bit flips, because there's all these correction algorithms built all the way down the stack, and the stack is just much deeper than people know.
Yeah.
And when you get into this game, particularly of cryptography, which I'm not an expert at, but Les and Floyd certainly are, that's deep. A lot of stuff has changed, and you can't just slap cryptography on top of something and expect that it can go unchanged for really any length of time. I mean, the old original Bitcoin wallet generators were cracked years ago, and forks are just not a practical way to fix that problem. Like, they're cute and they're nice, but they won't fix it. And so, again, you get back to governance, and if your goal is to get rid of governance for money or something, which doesn't make any sense for other reasons, it ain't going to happen on a computer. It isn't never going to happen if you're
can't
relying
have one
on
without the other. And in this case, just the same way that we have the IETF to upgrade internet protocols, and we have the IEEE, to study certain engineering principles that we apply to computer science and things. When Bitcoin came out, SHA-256 was great.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to have to be replaced.
And
the same goes in all these old wallets and things. So just like Mark said, in all these old wallets, you got to figure out how to get your stuff upgraded, because the system's that much faster. Quantum is just one more kind of fast system that happens to be good at a particular set of problems. And but we as researchers know about them, and we're constantly working on what the next upgrade is going to be. So we used to tell people when I worked at the lab that our goal was to be 3 to 5 years ahead of anything you could buy in shrink wrap. That's why I had a 1080p TV for HD that we were testing when the rest of the world was still trying to figure out 720i.
Wow. All right. Well, I like your test lab right there, Les. All right, let's wrap this up with probably the wallet thing is a good idea. That if you plan to do an upgrade, first of all, don't go to the Apple store to look for an upgrade wallet. And then secondly, come on the call and ask us to do some research with you on an upgrade to a wallet. And I'm one who needs to upgrade my wallet. But anyway, the last thing I want to leave you with is watch out for China and your internet. They've got a submergible autonomous drone, if you will, that'll go down to 13 or 30,000 feet with snippers on the end of it. And they're looking for, they're doing some testing on cutting cables on the ocean floor, which is how we communicate with the rest of the world on the internet. So just keep an eye on that and a little bit of note.
Yeah, if you don't know how many cables there are, you can search the internet for a map, because we do not communicate using satellites. We communicate using undersea cables. So there are cables across the Pacific
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a cable from Hawaii to Australia.
That's bizarre. Well,
So
why
go
are
look
we
at it
not using
Incredible.
satellites?
because it's not
Too
near
slow.
fast enough. Because a bundle of fibers doing fiber optic communication with that many stems on it, so you can have a cable as big around as your thumb, and you can out process or out transmit a whole bank of satellites.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's
Yep.
why we use the cables, because that fiber optic signal carries that much more data.
There
Well,
is
that sounds good until you're vulnerable for a shark or a Chinese person cutting the cable.
yeah,
Or
Chinese
or
drone,
any
submersible
fishing boat
drone.
dragging an anchor.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you
something
go.
so simple. And
Yeah.
then what happens? We can't get on the internet. I can't sell my options.
That's right, or it has to route itself through a different cable path, and
Yeah.
Oh
and
my
some
God.
places have more cables than others. Like there's a lot of cables that come into Boston and New York and LA and
And
Seattle and things
actually,
like
Myrtle
that. But if
Beach,
you go to South Africa, you probably only have one or two cable options.
Myrtle Beach is actually a landing spot for a number of
Yeah.
cables across
Norfolk is
Atlantic.
too. They've got a bunch of new cables there.
And
But yeah, just
UFOs.
search up the world map of the underwater cables. It's going to freak you out.
Yeah, it's
It
So
would
amazing.
upset me.
a friend of ours actually is involved in providing the cables, basically designing, building, and providing the cables.
Oh my
And
God.
he's a former naval um, expert, and he can't talk too much about it. But maybe he would be willing to talk a little bit here.
Well, about the vulnerabilities. Yeah, I'd be very curious to see, how they feel like they're protecting that.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
because they have to be very special cables. They're not just what you can buy at Lowe's, because
right.
they're putting them off the ship and they're going down, tens of thousands of feet to the bottom of the ocean. They have to resist the seawater. There's
Yeah.
other obstacles and things, you want them to last a long time.
Yeah.
Um, so they are very specially made.
So,
He actually is, or would have been the subject matter of Clancy's book, Red October. But
Oh,
Clancy took him out to lunch and started asking him about it, and he said, "Excuse me," and he walked away.
Yeah, that's that
oh,
way.
wow.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I've been at a Clancy presentation before, and he came to a secure facility, and he was telling us. I was at the uh, at NPIC, which is the people who did the images over Cuba, and uh,
Mm.
and he came to do a presentation to us in the Lundahl Auditorium. So it was very interesting having him explain to us how reconnaissance satellites work.
Oh my goodness.
And at the
huh.
time, in the conference room where we were, behind this teak rollback container that so you couldn't see it, was the last KH-1 that was sitting there. That was the first satellite model we ever sent up. And that model's now over in the National Archives. So I can tell you that it exists because we've admitted that.
Wow.
And it's in the National Archives. But we got a big chuckle out of the fact that we couldn't open the teak cabinet to show him the KH-1 at the time because it had not been released.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Well, all right. Well, thank you all for being with us today. Just want to have a great weekend. Stay curious, stay informed, watch the Chinese, and we'll be back with you every
And
Friday at 9:30 Eastern. Okay?
All right.
get
Everybody
better,
have a great
George.
weekend.
Wishing
Thank you, I
you
Yeah.
good
will.
health.
Yeah.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Have a good week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.